Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed. Once more, we're up in the Radio Shack, and in this box we have a very interesting and quirky little shortwave radio receiver. I've seen these receivers around for some time now. I'm going to call them the 6686 receiver. I don't know if that's the chipset that they use. It probably is. I've seen a few different designs. There's one particular design with a set of, looks like stereo speakers on the bottom. It's got some good reviews on shortwave listening forums. The only problem is the price. That one typically is over £100, which I think is a little bit too strong. I did see another design. Again, that was a little bit cheaper, but still too expensive to bring into the Fred in the Shed shack. And then this one came up from Banggood, and this one is about the cheapest incarnation of this 686 chipset design radio. This one comes in at about £65, which is a little bit strong. I mean, this is getting very close to the ATS 25, so it is mixing it with the competition, but it is small and it is quirky. So let's crack open the box and let's see what we get for £65. So firstly, there doesn't seem to be any brand name on this. It's quite sort of usual now from China. Maybe TEF. It might be a TEF 6686. Couldn't see anything. So straight into the box, and yeah, once again there is absolutely no instructions. It comes with this radio, and this particular version doesn't even have any printing on the buttons or the knobs and dials. There is another version I've seen which comes in like a larger ABS box case. I'll put that up on the screen, and that does have descriptions on the controls. This one unfortunately doesn't have it, but what I like about it is it's quirky. It really is quite unique, and there is virtually no plastic on the radio at all, other than these three little selection knobs or buttons here. Everything else, including these rather nice solid aluminium controls, everything else is made out of metal, and yeah, I actually quite like it. It does look a bit like a Kickstarter type home-built radio, if you like, which, you know, that's not something that I mind. But yeah, construction-wise, it does look, with these controls, almost high-end. Well, maybe, with some imagination. What else do we get in the box? Just a basic telescopic whip antenna, not particularly long. 80 centimetres, something like that. Feels a little bit loose. Some of these are very hit or miss. Sometimes you can adjust them. They've got a screw, and if you very carefully give them a turn. This one, it's not bad. I think time that's extended though. Yeah, it's a little bit floppy, so it's not the best. Not the best. And then that's it really. USB-C charging lead. No instructions, nothing to get you going on the radio. Oh, it has one of these screen protectors. Let's peel that off. I do quite like peeling these off actually. I noticed Matt from Techmoan, he likes it as well. If I can get hold of that. A bit tight. I think the screen, looking at that, the screen's very slightly over in that direction. Okay, yeah, it does. It's all right then. So maybe they're not the best quality control. That screen is a little bit loose. In fact, that screen is a lot loose. So I might, at a later date, I might be going inside there and attaching just a little bit of adhesive. Yeah, that's okay. Alright, well, maybe we'll forgive that. Like I say, it is a bit of a Kickstarter design. So as I mentioned there's no labelling on any of these function buttons or the rotary encoders on the side, a bit like some 70s high-end hi-fi or something. Well, okay, maybe not, but I have worked out pretty much what they do. It's not a complicated radio to use, thankfully. But so the bottom switches the radio on. Says it's TEF, comes up there. And that is the volume control. There's a few things on the display here that's quite odd, really. First is the signal meter there, 1 to 30 decibel, and then it has a noise meter. I guess that's a bit like a VU meter, which is quite unique. We've got the frequency, has auto tune and also manual tuning, and I believe you can select that by this button here. Okay, so on long wave you can only do manual tuning, and then by pushing in top button, that controls the digits there. Where, you know, 1 kilohertz, 1/10 of a kilohertz. So that's quite logical, and that does make tuning the radio quite easy. Let's connect the antenna, and let's see if we can pick something up on FM. So I've connected the antenna now, and this is stereo through the headphone socket FM.
Dinner tonight. Well, it's simple. Cheese on toast, all right? Yeah.
So yeah, that's your signal meter, and then that is a VU meter. Now when it comes down to the display, there's quite a lot going on here, to be fair. This is quite nice. So you've got the RDS there, a stereo indicator. You have a little tuning indicator here that if you go up, it goes, the little green light goes off. Also, what's quite interesting with the RDS, you've got is that a PL there? Is that telling you what type of RDS you've got coming in? You've got quite a lot of information: pop music, radio 2, DJ's name. Also, something which I think is quite unique is it shows the bandwidth. Can you see that? So that's 236 kilohertz, very nice and wide. But that I believe is selectable. I think we can. Yeah, there you go. So you can actually adjust the bandwidth on FM. Now we've gone down to 72 kilohertz. We've lost the RDS, of course. And there you go, the RDS has kicked in on 84. And that's quite unique. I've not had a radio where you were able to adjust the bandwidth on FM. Obviously on shortwave, and we'll get round to shortwave in a bit. So let's whack that back up to 236. Yeah, and it goes above it, so you can go wider. That's manual adjustment, and I imagine that you must be able. Can we change that to auto? I'm having just to guess these buttons, of course. Yeah, auto. So that, I imagine, will now be, when we change the tuning, that's auto tune. Now, as far as, I believe you just do the top ones. That's, yeah, there you go. That's just a seek. Now, what is interesting is this seems to work in reverse to me. If you turn it that way, it goes down the frequency band, and then that way it goes up, which most radios would actually be slightly different. Now I'm a bit concerned because I'm on the wrong bandwidth, aren't I there? Hang on, let me just, so it's auto, let me just change the bandwidth back to 236. There you go, and let's try that auto tune again. And yeah, that's better.
Symphony played for us by the Philharmonia Orchestra, Classic FM's orchestra on tour, conducted by Maris Janssens.
So I'm quite impressed with that RDS on the display there.
Friday at 9. Are you already planning?
One thing that's intriguing me is I've just realised there's no speaker grill. That's really. Let me just zoom out a little bit. I mean, it sounds kind of okay. It does sound a bit tinny, but me just pull the aerial down. Sorry if this goes out of focus, but there's no speaker grill. Look, that's a little bit odd, isn't it? So this is the first radio that I've ever reviewed that hasn't got a speaker. It has a speaker, I can hear it, but there's no grill. So I don't know if it's designed really for headphones, or if you're going to use perhaps an extension speaker, which I can do. I can put a CB speaker in it. But yeah, it's a little odd, isn't it? That's a little odd that they've made a radio that hasn't got a speaker grill. So it does sound, it sounds clear, but it does sound very tinny. Yeah, very strange. So just looking around the display there, it does say EQ, doesn't it? Like an equalizer. I don't know if is it a touch screen? I don't think it. No, so it's not a touch screen. So I'm not quite sure how you go down to the EQ setting. Now I believe, yeah, this control here says squelch. So we have got a manual squelch control, which goes all the way down to off, which yeah, okay, could be quite handy, I suppose. Well, not sure when you'd use that, but anyway, I guess it's there. What else we got? Signal to noise ratio, 23 decibels there. So average decibels. So yeah, it's quite a lot going on the display. Let's have a little flick around the medium wave. There's no built-in ferrite rod antenna. It does rely on the telescopic antenna. So to change bands, I believe it's just this bottom button here. Yeah, that's gone on to long wave. It seems to be receiving something.
I'm really looking forward to hearing Peter again. Aren't we always on the show tomorrow, so it's going to be a special.
It's gone on a very much smaller bandwidth, so that's on auto. And there we go, that's medium wave.
Right, news and sport 5:30.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. A safeguarding review into the case of a 10-month-old baby boy who was murdered by his parents.
I'm not sure if we can have, I don't know if it's got has it got auto seek on, it's that button, isn't it? No, you've got memory, and then you've got manual tune. So there's no auto seek on medium wave, and I'd assume that would be the same on short wave, which is a bit of a shame. It makes you do it the old-fashioned way. Has got a tuning indicator though. There's not a lot on medium wave nowadays. It's such a shame because it's not picking up bad though. Let's go. So if I went to 1089, just press that and then do. I keep turning it the wrong way. And there we go. That's a plus 30 signal. This is the Radio 2 transmitter. So considering it hasn't got a speaker grill, it actually sounds quite clear. I'm a bit perplexed with that. I think it would be nicer if it had a speaker grill. So let's just go on to shortwave. I need to connect we'll connect a proper loop antenna in a minute. So we press that.
Professor Qu Qiang, Research Fellow of Belt and Road Research Center at Minzu University of China. Coming up, Israel has significantly reduced the number of tourists in Gaza. What could happen next? And Mexico has cut diplomatic ties with Ecuador after Ecuadorian police stormed the Mexican embassy to arrest former...
पैमाने पर फिजाई हमलों ने गजा में बुनियादी शहरी ढांचे को तबाह कर दिया है, जबकि शहरियों के तहफ्फुज़ और उनकी बुनियादी ज़रूरियात की कमी के बायस एक बहरान पैदा हो गया है. Je pense que c'est possible. Et nous poursuivons cette édition avec Israël qui a insisté sur le fait que son armée ainsi d'opérations terrestres de grande envergure dans la ville de Rafah, dans le sud de la bande du Gaza, et ce malgré l'opposition de son allié, les États-Unis. The situation in the enclave, let's listen to what he had to say. Children cannot access age-appropriate nutritious food or medical services and have less than 2 to 3 liters of water per day. The consequences have been clear. In March, we reported that 1 in 3 children under 2 years of age in the northern part of the Gaza Strip suffer from acute malnutrition.
Tepekçi Radyo Sadguri Türkiye Sma. Ovada Türkiye'nin radyosu.
Evet, радио Ночной Турции. Говорит голос Турции.
Uniunea Europeană a impus Moscovei sancțiuni fără precedent și a adoptat o serie de programe de sprijin și le-a permis statelor membre să acorde subvenții speciale pentru atenuarea efectelor economice și comerciale generate de invazia militară rusă în Ucraina în februarie 2022. Ulterior, Europa s-a confruntat cu o explozie a prețurilor și turbulențe pe piețele financiare.
Over the weekend said that she's been targeted as well. She actually sounded quite angry at them. So I just wonder where you are on the spectrum with your colleague.
Well, you summed it up. I think it's both. You know, on the one hand, you and your colleague get caught up in this. On the other hand, I had the messages and reported it because that is the right thing to do. That's the thing we're supposed to be told to do, and you've got to follow through with those things. And you have to be held accountable for your actions on either side for what you choose to do or not to do. I don't want to be speaking and spending my time
For serving the very people, for the very nation, on behalf of the government.
Some postmaster speaking on BBC Breakfast. So tomorrow at the inquiry then, if anyone watched the drama, the man who did more than most to bring it to people's attention, Alan Bates, is in the hot seat. He played by Toby Jones, memorably in the programme. So what is he going to be saying tomorrow?
So it's actually, although we've heard his story quite a lot, obviously as part of the drama most notably, he's actually not spoken to the inquiry which he first called for in 2019. He's not spoken to it yet, so I think it's going to be a really important moment.
Quick look at some of the things that I really like about the radio, and that's the layout of the screen. Unfortunately, it's not touchscreen. It's a shame, really. I think they missed a beat there. But I do like the layout of it. It's the first 6686 software radio that I've had in the shack, and I think it's got a lot of potential for the future. I like the fact that you've got a signal meter, and that was fairly accurate. That certainly worked. Also, you've got what I call the VU meter, a bit like an audio input meter, and then you've got a decibel meter as well. And all of that helped when it came to tuning the loop. That was very, very good. Now, when it come down to the tuning on the radio, I wish there was an adjustable step rate. You know, one kilohertz, 2.55, and then possibly 10. It is possible to tune it on 5 kilohertz steps, and that's just by when you press this in. If you go all the way through the tuning range and then leave it blank, it then tunes by 5 kilohertz, which is quite useful. The tuning itself, it kind of works in reverse. I kind of feel that to tune up you should turn that way. That's how most radios work. You do get used to it, and there's no menu option to turn that round. So yeah, more step rate, and maybe they could reverse that. When it comes down to the tuning itself, it's obviously a stepped pot, but it's very nice. It feels a really good quality pot. I've had no bounce with it, I've had no slippage. It's not as if the display has gone backwards like it has done on some cheaper pots. And even the volume control, that is a very, very smooth pot. And I also like the fact that the knobs on the end are turned metal, aluminium or aluminium if you like. So the controls themselves are actually really nice to use. When it comes down to operating the radio, tuning the radio, the FM side of things was absolutely fine. It has got seek and search on FM. I don't know if this has got any memory presets, again because I couldn't find any menu option to go into, which was a bit strange. I don't know if you can save them to memory. However, medium wave, short wave and long wave, there is no seek or search. So that means that you do have to sit here and do it the old-fashioned way, manually, with the manual tuning. And yeah, that's a little bit tedious, to be honest. It definitely does need seek or search, and I don't understand why that is missing. Another thing that I don't really understand is the fact that it has a squelch. It has a squelch, again, without sideband and picking up ham transmissions or CB transmissions. I really don't see why you need a squelch control on the broadcast band. It doesn't make any sense. Again, maybe they are thinking of doing sideband in the future, and that would be relevant. But at the moment, I think it's just a waste of software on the radio. So those are the things that I like about the radio. Now we'll talk about the things that obviously aren't quite there yet. Firstly, we have to mention build quality. It's unacceptable that a radio comes in from test with a non-fixed loose screen. It has happened to me in the past. I've had radios up in the shack here, or all testing meters actually, and the screen over time, because it gets very hot up here, the glue has given way and the screen has become loose and I've had to glue it. But for this to arrive, I know it happens, but for this to arrive in the shack, especially as it was going to be on test, it doesn't say very much, does it, about the build quality, unfortunately. And that's a pity, because the case itself, and as I say, the controls are actually really quite nice. Another thing on the build quality which is so strange is the fact that there's no speaker grill. And I just find that extraordinary, that a radio has obviously been designed and produced, and no one kind of stuck their hand up and said, "Oh, excuse me, there's no speaker grill." I mean, you know, it's obvious, isn't it? And consequence of that is that the audio is very tinny anyway, and I suspect there's just a little laptop speaker in here, and it's a little bit muffled, to be honest, because there's no way for the sound to escape the cabinet of the radio. And yeah, that's a shame. And when you listen on headphones, the radio sounds really, really nice. I would forgive it if it had a Bluetooth function and we was able then to connect a Bluetooth speaker, but without that, I just think it's a glaring oversight of this design, really. I just don't understand that. However, you know, I'd even forgive that, to be honest, because I normally listen with headphones, if they'd come in at a more competitive price. Currently on Banggood, they want about £65 for this unit, and that is a problem, because for another £10, for £75, you can buy one of these, which is an ATS-25. You can get the original version. This, to be fair, is a much better constructed unit. It offers you touchscreen. It also has the all-important upper and lower sideband, and of course it now has also a nice 3-inch speaker built into the cabinet. And to make matters worse, to be honest, for £30, which is less than half the price of this unit, on Banggood again, you can get the ATS-20 Plus. It does have a very small screen. It's obviously not touchscreen, but it does tune in a similar way to this radio, and once again it has sideband, and it also has a nice sized speaker. So if you're interested in perhaps looking at this TEF radio in more detail, there I'll put a link in the description to the Banggood website. You can go away and have a look at that. Also, the GA450 loop that I used during testing, I did do a full video review on this a few weeks ago. Again, I'll leave that in the description, and also if you're interested maybe in looking at that, that's also available from Banggood, and it will be in the description. As always, there is the thumbs up from Fred in the Shed. Thank you very much for dropping by. I am a small channel, don't get that many reviews, so I do appreciate your view time. Thank you. If you get a second, as always, just hit me a thumbs up down below. I do like to see that. That does encourage me to make more videos. But as for now, as always, please, please, please look after each other. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
right, all